Robert Horn. Okay, this is one of those where I'm going to have to re-release the intro because the intro was with Robert, okay? Robert is one of the... First of all, I should start by saying Robert Horn is a Tony Award-winning book writer for his book of Tootsie. He's also, most recently, he wrote the book to Shucked, which he was Tony nominated for, and now Olivier nominated. Shucked is Olivier nominated in the West End. At the time when we were shooting this episode, I think Shucked had just been announced that it was going to the West End, but now he is nominated for an Olivier, and he also wrote the book to Hercules, which is over there in the West End and was at Paper Mill Playhouse a couple years ago here. Robert Horn is a comedic genius, and something I didn't know is that he wrote some of your favorite DComs. The Sweet Life movie, Teen Beach movie, Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure, the sequel, the spinoff spinoff movie to High School Musical. So it was such a thrill to get the chance to talk with him, and he's one of the funniest guests we have ever had, if not the funniest guest we've ever had. And I was over the moon, and I wanted to share some light on this episode because I think it's absolutely hysterical. And also, Robert, like I mentioned, is nominated for some Olivier's right now, so I wanted to give him some love, and I wanted to make sure that you guys, if you haven't listened to it already, got the chance to check out our episode with Robert. So let's go back in time and show you Robert Horn's "I Want to Be Like You." Hi there, welcome to "I Want to."
Shh, that's so loud.
Oh, okay, I'll try.
No, I was kidding.
We'll try that again. We'll try that again. We'll try that again. Hi there. I couldn't. Okay,
What?
well, today on our show we have someone very special, if you haven't noticed, and his name is Robert Horn. Robert Horn.
Not his legal name.
Not his. Oh, really? Oh, I couldn't think of a funny enough bit. I couldn't think of something funny enough for our intro today, so I figured that it'd be best to just have Robert here. Robert, is there anything you'd like to say about yourself? You could almost slate like an actor.
I don't know.
You can do whatever you like.
I'm not good on the spot.
Okay. Then give it back to me.
Okay.
We're ping ponging.
Yeah.
Robert Horn. Robert Horn is a Tony Award-winning book writer. Ever
Lie.
since you win the Tony. Oh, he said lie. Ever since you win the Tony, I guess now you have to have that like tokened, right? Like on your everywhere you go.
I carry it with me everywhere.
Do you? Yes. Do you have it like on your passport even? Like
I have it in my pants.
Oh.
You thought that was something else spinning.
Yeah. Nope. Well, there you go. Robert wrote Tootsie.
Yep.
Robert wrote Shucked. Robert wrote 13.
Yeah.
Robert wrote on sitcoms, all designing women and partners, which I'm sure many of you know.
Don't watch it.
Living Single, High Society. You need to watch this episode. Robert is one of the funniest guests we've ever had, and one of the funniest.
One of the only guests you've ever had.
One of the. That's true too. And we're so grateful to have him on today. I want to be like Robert Horn. I want to be like you. 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 Okay, Chris, how do the mics look? Is it blocking my face?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
You can put it down a little bit.
Okay.
Is this a problem?
No.
How am I putting it down? Just pull it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
Is this all your stuff?
Yeah, this is all our stuff. You're our 28th episode.
That's ironic. That's my age.
Well, we just had...
Wasn't funny.
We just...
It wasn't a joke.
It
Wasn't a
It was
joke.
a joke. But I will tell you, I think Shucked, and we'll talk about this on the pod, but I think Shucked was one of, if not the best marketing campaign I'd ever...
Mike Bosner, yeah.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. Are you ready, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool.
That's the camera?
That's our camera. Welcome to another episode of I Want to Be Like You with Elbi Cespedes. Today, I want to be like Robert Horn.
I really don't.
I usually ask people how to pronounce their names, but yours is pretty self-explanatory.
I always say no why.
Yeah, right. Okay, so we asked the
He
same.
got it.
These are going over my head.
Horn, no why.
Oh,
Okay, there you go.
now I get it. Angel, close your ears for that one.
Sorry,
Okay.
Angel.
No, you're good. So we start with the same question every time. Who was your I Want to Be Like You when you were a kid?
Oh. Neil Simon.
Wow, Neil Simon.
Yeah, not with the wives, but yes. With the,
Yeah,
actually,
right,
his
right.
second wife, Marsha Mason, I love.
Yeah,
All his
right.
wives, I love. Neil Simon. Somebody, when I was really young, somebody gave me a collection of his plays. It was the first book of plays I ever read, and it just influenced me. And I said, that's what I want to write like.
Wow. What play? What was the first Neil Simon play you read?
Probably Odd Couple or Barefoot in the Park. It was one of
Yeah.
those. It was his early plays. Yeah.
Yeah. So were you drawn to comedy initially? Were you drawn to his comedy initially?
Well, I was always, yes, I wasn't just drawn to comedy. I was painted to it.
Right.
Yep, there you
There
go.
you go.
Right.
I'm just getting a look at him.
Sorry, I'm like a dead
you
crowd.
know, I just sort of, that's the prism through which I see the world. And sometimes it gets me in trouble because I can find comedy in, almost any, especially bad situations, because
Sure.
that's just my go-to. But I always, as a survival technique, comedy was how I survived,
Right.
when I was young and getting bullied and all that. If you were funny, you were cool.
Right.
And so, it was always, comedy was my thing.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Billy Crystal said this in that 500 Sunday special that he did, where he was like, there isn't ever really a bad time for comedy.
I walked
Maybe-
out of that at 480.
What? What did you say?
Come on, man.
Oh, 480 Sundays. Gosh, they're killing me. You're so quick with it. But he was just saying like there's never a bad time for comedy.
Right.
It's like
And I was just watching this special about late night.
Yeah.
The history of late night.
Right.
And they were talking about 9/11 and how do you come back to do the nighttime comedy show
Right.
after a massive tragedy like that? It was Letterman that was the first one back.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
And I think SNL was back like a week or two later.
It was a little later, yeah.
Yeah. So where are you from initially? You're from New York City, am I
I'm
right?
from New York, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, New York.
New York. Where in New York?
Well, I was actually, now I'm going to be a liar. I was actually born in Connecticut, but I moved to New York when I was like a year old
Yeah.
to Bensonhurst, Brooklyn.
No way.
So way.
That's so funny. So
68th and 19th.
wow, we're from Staten Island because that's where we live
Do you know
now.
how
but
Staten Island got its name?
how did Staten Island get its name? He told the joke beforehand.
You had to be there.
Yeah, you had to be there.
I'm going to do the joke.
Do it. Do it.
When all the Jews were coming over from the old country to Ellis Island, they would pass through the Hudson and they would see Staten Island there. And one day on one of the ships, one of the old Jewish guys turned around to his friend and said, "Murray, Staten Island?"
I thought it was.
It's such a
I thought
David
it was
Yazbek
real.
joke. It's a David Yazbek joke.
Well, I thought you were giving me a
He asked
history
me,
lesson.
"For real?"
Yeah, I thought it was a history lesson. I didn't think it was a joke. So
It's my history.
yeah, right. No, but we're from Brighton Beach. That's what I was getting at.
Brighton
Yeah.
Beach. Is the Brighton Beach Baths still there? All the old people used to go to a place called
Yes.
the Brighton Beach Baths.
Yes, there's and I think there's multiple of them. They're all over. There's still the Banya. That was always like the Banya. But we're from Brighton Beach and Coney Island, so that's like
Oh,
where
I was Avenue Z and East First for a little while.
Wow.
Right across from the Coney Island Hospital.
That's so funny. Yeah, I went to school there.
Where'd you go? 216?
I went to a private school. I went to Bambi Academy when I was in elementary school. Yeah. But I always say my parents are like West Side Story. There was the Dominican side and then the Russian side of Brighton Beach, and they crossed the
What
street.
was their hurry?
What?
What was their hurry?
What was their hurry?
The Russians?
Yeah, right. The Russian side. Did that one go over your head too?
I'll stop.
No,
I'll
never stop.
I'm going to stop.
Never
I'm going to stop. I
Never
get in
stop.
trouble for these, yes.
No, these are great. So what was your first, we always ask this question, and being that you're from New York, I imagine you were younger, what was your first Broadway show?
Oh, I know. My first Broadway show was a Kander and Ebb musical called 70 Girls 70. And there's a famous song from it, Coffee in a Cardboard Cup. That was like the big song from it. Wow. That was my first musical. And then that same weekend, my mom took me. I went to see Fiddle on the Roof.
Wow.
And that just sort of changed my life.
Yeah, right. Why did you go see that 70, what is it called? 70
Girls 70. Probably because my mom got free tickets. Knowing her.
Yeah, what did she do? How did you get
No,
tickets
I'm
to
just
shows?
kidding.
Oh, yeah.
My mom was a big thing. My mom, you may be too young for this, but some of them. My mom was Ed Sullivan's secretary, and I know that's crazy. And she used to book all the Broadway with all the Broadway shows that would come on the Ed Sullivan show. So she was a big theater girl.
Wow.
And in fact, I'll tell you a story.
Yeah.
I went to see 70 Girls 70, and my mom gave me the playbill and said, "See that guy sitting in that seat down there? Go over and ask for his autograph." I didn't know who it was, And I went over and asked for his autograph, and he was so nice to me. It was Joel Grey.
Oh,
Early,
my goodness.
young Joel Grey.
Wow.
And yeah, I didn't know, but yeah.
Wow. So your mom probably did get those free tickets. She
probably
made
did get
she
free
probably
tickets,
did
yeah.
get free tickets. That's incredible. So you were on the set of that Sullivan Show?
No, I wasn't born yet. She was like 18 or 19. And here's a
okay.
story. I'll tell you another story.
Yeah.
So my mom was, years ago, there was something called dictation.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have tape machines, everything. And the assistant, then called secretaries, would sit in a room and write down everything that was being said for her boss and everything. And it was like a shorthand, and it was called shorthand. And she was these executives from MGM were coming to meet with Mr. Sullivan, and she was taking dictation. And afterwards, one of these MGM producers offered her to come out to California because she was beautiful and have a contract, like a player's contract, and her parents wouldn't let her go.
No way.
Yeah. They said,
Wow.
you're a secretary, you'll always have a good job, you're not going into show business.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But
She killed them after that. That's how they died.
but was she a performer? Was
No,
she
she wasn't, no.
No. That's so interesting. So were you growing up because you were exposed to how old were you when you saw a 70 going 70?
I'm young, maybe 6.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you were a theater kid.
Always.
Yeah.
Love theater. My mom, we used to go to, at Sound of Music came out, My Fair Lady, all those
Wow.
golden age musicals when I was really young, and my mom would take me to all of them. I think she also knew I was gay, and I think she wanted to expose me to those things. She knew I loved all that, and she celebrated it, and she was like, "We're taking you to musicals, child,
Yeah.
because that's where you belong."
Yeah, right. So when did you decide that you wanted to do this for a living? How were you doing shows in high school and whatnot?
Not really, no. I like most writers out there. I originally was going to be an actor,
Yeah.
but I was and I went to NYU, and I got a 4-year scholarship to NYU in Circle in the Square,
Right.
because I auditioned with 2 monologues that I wrote, and I think that's what got me in, because my acting was terrible. I didn't last very long because I just didn't want to do, I didn't want to study the classics. I wanted to do comedy.
Sure.
So no, but I used to, years ago in my teens when I was living in New York, I would make a living by I would write. There was a magazine called Backstage. That was where you found out about auditions.
Right.
And I put an ad in Backstage that I would write scenes and monologues for people for acting class. And I actually made money doing that. So that's kind of where it started.
So you were writing the monologues for actors.
For actors. Yeah, I would meet with them and get to talk to them for a minute, and then okay, I'm going to write you a monologue or write a scene. And
And
I
would they
charged
pay you for it?
$25.
Wow.
$25.
That's great.
I know.
Oh, you should do that now.
Yeah, it costs a lot more than $25 now with these jokes.
Yeah, right. So you went to NYU Tisch and
Yeah.
Circle in the Square, and so did you have to go through the whole audition process to get in?
Yeah,
and
I
everything?
auditioned.
Yeah. Did you audition for multiple schools, or did you want to go
No,
there?
I just auditioned I was living. I've told this story many times, but I was on my own at a very young age, and I had an apartment on Thompson Street, between Bleecker and Houston. And I would see all the NYU students hang out in Washington Park and everything, and I said, I really want to do that. And I went and asked questions, and they said, where do you want to go? I said, I want to study theater.
Yeah.
And I went and auditioned, and
Wow.
got a scholarship. I mean, really was a fluke.
What
I
a
shouldn't
blessing,
have
though.
gotten that. Somebody who was
that's
good
great.
should have gotten that.
No.
But Donna Murphy was in my class. Andy McCarthy was in my class. Donna and I still talk. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We did Kiss Me Kate together.
No way.
So way.
Who was she?
Kiss.
And you were me.
I was Kate.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
No, she was. Yeah.
Nice.
Catherine.
Wow, that's so cool. That's awesome.
Do you remember that, Donna? I know she does.
Yeah, we adore Donna Murphy.
We love Donna Murphy.
Adore Donna Murphy.
Gilded Age. She's fantastic. Have
Yeah,
you watched
yeah.
the Gilded
No,
Age?
I've not watched it
Oh
yet,
my
but
God.
I've heard she's
The first
fantastic.
2 seasons, I was like, okay, this season is phenomenal.
And they just got picked up for a 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she's incredible. So it's funny because I knew her originally as.
How is that fun?
As I knew her originally as Dr. Octopus's wife in Spider-Man 2. She was.
Oh,
Alfred Molina's wife.
She always, she's crosses over to every medium. She works in every medium.
Yeah, and then I saw her as Dolly, and
she was great as
unreal.
Dolly. Unbelievable.
Unreal.
Yeah, they all three of them were.
Yeah, I never got to see Bet or Bernadette.
Bet was Bet.
Yeah.
She was Bet, and I don't know if I can tell this. So as people know, I wrote Bette Midler's last world tour and worked on it with her, and we had a sort of a disagreement at the end.
Oh, did you?
And yes, she's so nice to me. She was great.
Yeah.
But she wanted me to continue to go with her to Florida, to Tampa, I think it was, to Hard Rock. And I couldn't for the first 2 weeks to just work on it. And I couldn't. I was doing a show. And so she got kind of upset that I couldn't. But then she did Dolly. And I wrote her an email. I said, I don't know if you're mad at me or what, but I'd love to see you. I'm coming to see the show. And we went backstage, and she was so wonderful and warm and
that's great.
Hysterical.
Yeah, that's great.
She was great.
I love that. And I loved that production. I wish I had seen her in Bernadette. So what brought you then, if you were this theater kid and from New York, what made you go to LA?
Well, it was the 1980s, mid 80s, and the AIDS crisis had hit. Everybody was dying. It was really horrible. And New York was in a massive depression, and I had no money. I got kicked out of where I was living. And my mom and sister, years earlier, had moved to California. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to just come out and hang for a while because I got to get out of New York. And I did. I lived in San Diego for like 2 months. And then I said, I'm going to go up to LA and see what happens. And I went up to LA, and I just bummed around for a while. And then I started working as a TV writer. Everything sort of happened by serendipitous action. I always say success is a meeting of opportunity and ability. Yeah. And I just constantly wrote. I would write anything for anyone for free, and then an opportunity happened, and I was ready for it. Right. So that's what happened. And then I did a couple of. I was home, and I got a phone call from a friend of mine, Howard Sussman, who now does the costumes on Dancing with the Stars, and he and some friends were at the beach, and he said, and his friend said, do you know where we can get some weed? And Howard said, my friend Robert always has weed. So they came over to my house, and one of the guys they were with is a wonderful writer named Danny Margosis, who was working at CBS at the time, and we started talking. And I said, I'm trying to be a writer. He said, well, I'm writing too. Why don't we write something together? And we wrote a pilot together. And that got us our agent, and then that started getting us jobs. Wow. And then we landed on Designing Women, which was our big break.
Wow. So how did you get that first original TV writer job, though? And what was it on?
It was a show called, we did a couple. There was a show called 5 Up, 2 Down, which is a remake of a show called The Mothers-in-Law with Diane Carroll. Wow. There was a show called, it was like Alf, but it was called something else. It was like a puppet thing. Huh. Just a bunch of pilots that didn't go.
Well, there were at that time, now
sitcoms were king.
I was going to say.
In those days, sitcoms ruled the airwaves.
Yeah, and the pilot season was such a huge thing.
They used to buy like 45 scripts and make maybe 10 or 15 pilots. Now, you're lucky.
A quarter of that, not even.
Not even. They'll make 1 or 2 at the most.
Right, right. So talk to me about Designing Women.
Okay.
You were on Designing Women. Yes. So you said you and your partner were a writer together on Designing Women. And how long were you on it for?
We were on for like the last 2 years.
So I imagine you had seen the show beforehand. And
oh my God, I was obsessed with the show, and I knew I could write. You know, the show had been on for a while, and I think the actors started to think that it was getting a little stale. That they had kind of run out of stories, and so they decided to clean slate and bring in all new people, and we were the people they brought in. And I'd been watching that show for years, and at that time, I still loved writing for strong women. I grew up around my mother, my grandmother, and my sister. We all grew up together. That was our family.
Right.
And so I grew up around strong women, and I loved writing. And writing for Julia Sugarbaker, writing those speeches, and all of them were fantastic. And then, we became close with all of them.
So how did it work I mean, you guys were doing something like 22, 26 episodes,
26
right?
a season, yeah.
And this was now already, like the 6th season? Is that right?
I don't remember.
But it was in the latter half of the show.
The latter half of the show.
And how was it one of those things where you were designated a certain amount of episodes that you guys would get, or how are those things?
Well, what ended up happening was the entire staff left the show.
Yeah.
And an incredible writer and comedian named David Steinberg, who look, you should Google him because he's a legend. Was directing it at the time, and they brought my partner and I in, and another woman named Emily Levine, who was a great writer who has sadly passed. And we wrote all those seasons. We wrote every episode, the three of us.
No
That was it. That was
way.
the whole staff, yeah.
Wow, that's really
So
uncommon.
if you look at
though.
those last seasons, it's either our name or her name on every episode.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, that's really.
It was like a mosh pit of learning. I mean,
Yeah.
David Steinberg, God bless him, said, "I'm going to teach you." I mean, we were young writers. He said, "I'm going to teach you everything. I'm going to teach you how to cast. I'm going to teach you how to edit. I'm going to teach you how to run a room. I'm going to teach you everything." And he taught me everything. So my career in television sort of excelled a lot faster than a lot of people is because I had a mentor.
Right. Who was show running the show at the time?
I'm not mentioning names.
Okay, you got it. No, you're totally good. But I imagine they had switched showrunners, right? If
Yes,
were wiping
we
out
became the
whole thing,
showrunners. Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you then go on to Living Single.
Yes.
So talk to me about Living Single. It's like Living Single is when did you join
Iconic.
Living Single?
At the beginning.
Right at the beginning.
Yes. So an incredible, legendary writer, producer named Yvette Lee Bowser, who is phenomenal, and she's created so many shows. It was her show. She was the show. She wrote the pilot and was the showrunner, and they were trying to put together a staff. And we met with her, and she hired us. And so that's sort of how it happened. We were just coming off of Designing Women. We had done, we had written a pilot that went and didn't go. Eventually, it went, but we had written a pilot that went and didn't go. And she actually read that pilot, and she thought we'd be good. And we're friends to this day. She also a mentor. She taught me so much about comedy, and that I loved that cast. They have a podcast. I was just on their podcast.
Oh, really?
Living Single
Oh,
podcast
that's funny.
with
Like a
Erica
rewatch
and-
pod?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
That was it was the first basically female-driven, African-American empowering show on a new network called Fox, and it became a hit for them. And,
Yeah. What was I gonna ask you? I just had it on the top of my brain.
Is Ariana Grande nice?
Is Ariana Grande nice? Yeah, right. We'll get to that one. No. Oh, I guess I was gonna say, for those who don't know about pilot season, I want to talk through pilot season and how it went back then. Like we said, now it's super different. But essentially, what happened is that writers like you would write a bunch of pilots, right? You would have like a rep.
Well, no. Usually, you write one, maybe two a season. So you pitch first.
Yeah.
And you go to studios.
Right.
Studios, they don't exist like now. Networks own all the studios, but in those days, the networks didn't own the studios. So you would go to Sony or Fox or any one
Warner
of the
Brothers,
studios, Warner Brothers, and you would pitch to the comedy executives. And if they liked the pitch, they bought the pitch from you, and you develop it with them, and then you go out and pitch it to the networks. And then if the networks liked it, they would pick up the pilot. You would write a pilot episode. And then they would get all their pilots for the season, like 45, 50 pilots. And they would narrow them down to say, we're going to make 10 pilots. And they would narrow them down. If yours was chosen, you would make a pilot. And then they decide whether or not that pilot's going to get on the air. And all that happens from September or October through March. That's the pilot season.
Right, and it was the same thing for actors. Actors were like running to audition, and the opportunities were pretty vast because if you're picking up 45 to 50,
it was a great time for actors to. There were so many. At that time, there were only 5 networks, so it was ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, and WB.
And yet somehow it feels like almost more job opportunity.
But there was so many shows. Yeah,
right.
They made a lot of shows in those.
Yeah. So how long were you on Living Single for?
2 years, and then I left 2 years, and then we left.
What did you say your partner's name was again?
Danny
Howard?
Margosis.
Oh, Danny. Yeah. Okay.
Howard Sussman is my best friend
who's on Dancing with the Stars.
Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah,
he also did Mad About You and Moonlighting and
wow,
tons
very
of shows.
cool.
He's phenomenal.
So were you moving around with Danny?
Off and on, yes.
Yeah.
And then we had got an overall production deal at Warner Brothers.
Huge.
And we wrote a pilot that Warner Brothers had bought and didn't get on the air. And then Les Moonves, who was then the president of Warner Brothers, moved over to become the president of CBS. And the first show he put on the air was our show. and it was a show called High Society with Gene Smart,
Gene
who
Smart.
I knew from Designing Women, and Mary McDonnell.
Wow.
And it was basically, I'd gone to London and seen a show called Absolutely Fabulous. Some of you know Ab Fab. It's a legendary British comedy. And I loved it. And I said, I kind of want to do something American that lives in that world. We created High Society from that.
Wow, very cool. I guess talk about the overall deal. This was your first one, right?
That was our
'Cause
first
you got
one,
multiple.
yeah. I had first, I was at Warner Brothers for 6 years.
Wow.
And then I was at Sony Studios for 2 years, and then ABC Studios for a year.
Talk about what that means to a young writer, because that is it's hard to explain about how big of a deal that is. Even
Yeah,
now.
I mean, they don't really make them now.
It's only given to
cost
like people like
preventive,
like Ryan Murphy
Yeah.
or like, you know, Shonda Rhimes or
Correct.
people like that.
So basically, they give you a certain amount of money for a certain amount of years and give you an office, and you basically, whereas when I would pitch a pilot, I could go to every studio. If you have a deal, say at Warner Brothers, I could only work for Warner Brothers.
Right.
They were my studio, and you would either develop pilots or they would say, we need you on staff for 6 months on Mad About You or one of their shows, and you would go on staff, and then you had your offices and you would develop, and so it was really a great time.
It's pretty much guaranteed work. You know,
Yes.
it gives you consistency.
It does, and you know, you got a weekly salary, so they would amortize, is that the word? Over
Maybe.
like the first one was a 2-year deal, and so they pay you a certain amount, and they broke it up, and every week, and then I mean, they threw money at you in those days. They would give us like $2,000 a week just to take people to lunch.
Wow.
It was like we would take out, if you wanted to meet a celebrity, you'd be like, I'm going to see about taking this person out to lunch, and you would go out to lunch with them because you just wanted to meet them.
Wow. Who were some of the people you got to meet with?
I've met a lot of the people, but the favorite thing was, my twin sister was in love with this guy from a show called Emergency. Randy Mantooth, his name was. And I surprised her, and I took him out to lunch at a restaurant called the Ivy in LA, and I was with my sister. He got mad. He's like, I thought this was the development meeting. What are you doing? But she got to meet her idol. So that was kind of nice.
Oh,
yeah.
that is really nice.
But we met with, tons of people.
And was the intention like you would write a pilot and you'd be like, well, I'm thinking of putting this person into this. And
Yes,
so
or to develop for them.
Right.
I developed for people a lot, you know,
Right.
different people that, yeah.
Yeah, and now, I mean, like I said, like people, it's really designated to like people like Dan Fogelman has
Yeah,
one.
I mean,
at
they
Disney.
it used to be a lot easier to get an overall deal. And then,
Yeah.
and then while I was at Warner Brothers, I got a call from Les Moonves who said, there's a producing team on the lot that are legendary. They had like 6 shows on the air at one time, and they were very young. They would write young family shows, and I was writing very adult, sort of, you know, way ahead of their time comedies. And he said, I wonder what would happen if we brought the two of you together. And that was the legendary producer Bob Boyette, was Miller Boyette, and they started on Happy Days and Mork and Mindy.
Wow.
And went on to do Full House and Family Matters and Step by Step. And I mean, tons of shows.
Oh, that whole TGIF catalog.
Bob Boyette came up with the phrase TGIF. And so then, and we used to, all we would do is talk about theater. Theater. We both love theater. And he eventually left LA because sitcoms sort of died. And he said, I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to produce theater. And he did. And he remembered me and called me and said, hey, I want to, you know, I have this show. It needs to be a little funnier. Will you do it? And he gave me my first gig.
Wow.
And has been incredibly loyal.
What was that show?
That was a show called Dame Edna, Back with a Vengeance.
Gotcha.
It was
Yes,
the
yes,
Dame
yes.
Edna show, and it was him and Scott Sanders produced it, who I love. That was my first. And then I was writing an animated feature for Disney. I won't say what because I'm probably not allowed to say it.
Sure.
I was writing an animated feature for Disney, and Tom Schumacher, who at that time was the head of Disney Animation, had a show they were working on, and because I was writing this musical, asked me if I could help make it funny, and so that was my first. So
Wow.
Schumacher and Boyette were like my mentors.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the sitcom format is essentially the theater format.
It is. You're writing a new play every week,
Right.
And doing it in front of a live audience.
Like, I mean, how much
It's the
better
best.
is that?
It's the best.
Go
ahead.
for it.
No,
Go for it.
but
Well,
as a you know, it's a great training ground. it's interesting because in theater, a lot of writers tend to be a little precious about their material. Because it takes a long time to get a play or a musical done. But in sitcoms, you're rewriting literally overnight. You're there sometimes till 5 a.m. rewriting on the set because you're shooting it. You usually shoot it twice in one day. And if an audience is laughing, you got to come up with something new right there. And so that's sort of how my chops were in like, do it funny and do it fast.
Right. And things are being
Which
caught
is
all
also
the
how I
time.
met my husband.
Oh, really?
No,
How did you?
it was a joke.
They're all going over my head. No, so
He said that too.
No, but so what was I gonna say about? Oh, it was just that things are constantly getting punched up. And things are constantly getting cut, and like scenes and cut for time or things like that. So
sitcoms were 23 minutes. You had to do 23 minutes, and often you would shoot stuff, and it would be 28 minutes, and you had to go and edit it and cut down. It was really hard to edit those shows because what do you lose without losing plot?
Well, and the story is short enough. I mean, and if you look at like Dick Van Dyke Times, those episodes were like 26, 28 minutes because you do like 2 minutes of commercials. And now I think they've even been cut down. Some episodes like if you look at like some episodes of like Mom or like shows like that, some of them are 19 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like
they need the advertising.
Yeah, the advertising is
kids.
a third.
Television used to be run by advertisers. The more successful a show was, the more advertisers would pay to advertise their product in commercials. And the idea is to get a hit show so they could charge more for the advertising.
Yeah, I think there was a point where Big Bang Theory cut the shortest episode of a sitcom, which I think was 19 minutes
just
or
did
something
Big.
like that. Yeah, it was just Big. It was just Big.
It was just Bang.
Yeah, right. People will get it. I was a huge Boy Meets World fan.
Yeah.
So I was, this is how I learned about all of this because I was obsessed with Girl Meets World. So really, the story goes that I auditioned for Girl Meets World. And I was like, well, was
that a sequel to Boy Meets World?
Yes, on Disney Channel. And so I was like, oh, well, you know, like, I'm going to book this. And when I do, I need to know the source material. So I'm going to go and watch the entire Boy Meets World. And then it became like my favorite show of all time. I didn't.
You did?
No, I didn't. No. No, that'd be cool. I could tell you that I did and you would believe me.
I would so believe you.
Yeah, right.
He will. I know that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he'll go for it.
We just met.
Yeah, right. So that's how I learned about this whole process and how much even it changed from Boy Meets World, which was like 93 to 2000, and Girl Meets World, which was like 2014 to 17, or cable versus network.
Yeah, I mean, when Disney Channel came on, it was Disney and Nickelodeon. There weren't a lot of cable channels. HBO was around, Showtime was around, but it's not like it is now.
Yeah, right. And it's funny because we talk about advertisers owning television. They still do. It's just that they don't give you runtime. If you look at this point, Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO Max, they're all...
There is advertising, but it's subscription. I mean, that's why they have to constantly come up with new product, because they need to keep getting viewers to subscribe.
Right. So you mentioned Bob Boyette was the one who brought you to New York. And helped you get your Broadway debut with Dame Edna. Talk about that and what a huge deal that was, and also why, if you were finding so much success in LA, why you decided to make that pivot? Because that's, I guess at the time it was you do one thing or the other, like acting was?
Yeah, I mean, now everybody on TV wants to be on Broadway, and everybody on Broadway wants to be on TV. But it was really divisive then. It was film and TV. Film looked down on TV and TV looked down on theater. Mm-hmm. And so the worlds didn't really meet at that time. But there was a big writer's strike in 2008. Yes. And I couldn't get work. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go do theater. Yeah. And so, that started. And then I got a phone call from Bob saying...
Actually, maybe this is the one before 2008. Maybe this is the strike, the American Idol time. Right? Something like that?
It was, 2007, 2008, because that's when I did 13.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so I was in LA, we were on strike. Bob had a show at the Amundsen called 13, and he wanted to bring it to Broadway, but it wasn't, some parts of it weren't working. So he said, will you come in and work on it? And I did, and that was, 13 is sort of what put me on the map.
Yeah, of course.
For theater, yeah.
At that time, Jason Robert Brown was a new writer.
Who?
Yeah, right. Yeah, never heard of him. Jason Arm Brown. JRB, he goes, but you might know him better that way. But yeah, no, so he's a new writer. This is an original.
He had done Parade, yes.
Oh,
and last 5 years. I think he had done last 5 years. Also.
Okay.
Yeah.
But last 5 years was off Broadway.
Yeah.
Parade was on Broadway.
He did the Alfred's directed show, but 13 was the big one.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, whoops. There you go.
I came on when it was 12.
You know what it was? We haven't had him. Yeah. I just ran over that joke. To give you another, I was going to say we haven't had JRB on the show yet, so
I'll tell him to come
I'm
on.
not obligated to know as much about him. No, but so talk about 13 and the journey from the Amundsen to Broadway.
Yeah, there was another wonderful writer on it, Dan Ellish, and he and Jason had worked on it together, and then Bob felt he wanted to. The show wanted to sort of go in a different direction, and so Dan got another gig and couldn't continue with it, so they brought me on. Although he came in and out, and then Jason and I, literally, I got hired, and then Jason and I went to where did we go? Connecticut. Goodspeed. Is it Goodspeed?
Yeah, Goodspeed.
And basically wrote the show. I was writing the show as we were rehearsing it. It was just every day these kids would get new pages, and we would created the show in Goodspeed.
Yeah.
And then after we did Goodspeed, which was so much fun. I mean, it was Jason and myself and Tom Kitt and a bunch of crazy 12, 13, 14-year-olds running around Connecticut. We had to take the doors off their rooms. Puberty was hitting.
That's funny.
But it was an incredible experience.
Yeah.
And then literally we closed in Connecticut, and like a few months later we opened on Broadway.
Wow. What was Tom Kitt's role on it?
He was MD, music director.
Oh, interesting. Very cool.
Yeah.
And these were all actual kids. They were not,
actual
it wasn't
kids.
like you guys were like.
Well, they were performers, but they were kids. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they all auditioned.
Right. And you had in the original cast Liz Gillies, which I saw you saw her last night.
I posted.
You posted
Liz
it.
is, oh my God, if you Liz, everybody knows her for like Dynasty and that Nickelodeon show and everything, but she is the most incredible nightclub singer. Her voice is spectacular.
Yeah, it is.
She's also, so when I took over the show, that character had very little. She had like 3 lines. And I met Liz, and she was 13 or 14 at the time, and I was like, oh, I'm going to write for you. She was so sarcastic, and she was like 40 at 14.
Yeah.
And I said, girl, I'm going to write for you. And I wrote that part for and with her as we were rehearsing it. And Lucy was created that way.
Wow. And that's a huge part.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's like
It's the lead. Yeah.
her and
How often does that happen where you meet somebody in the cast, especially with theater?
A lot.
Man, I'm making this a bigger part. This person is bringing something new to it.
were the characters affected by the actor?
A lot. I am one of those writers that loves actors. I can give birth to something, but I can't bring it to life. An actor does, and so that's an incredible collaboration. And I love working with actors. And so, do I need to get closer? I love working with actors. Tell the actors I love them. And
They still won't believe you, though.
they don't believe me.
Yeah.
No, they do, because
Yeah.
I do show. I love hanging out with the actors. Usually when you're on the other side of the table, as they call it, the writers, the producers, the music, the choreographer, there's sort of a separation between you and the actors, and it's probably a healthy one.
Sure.
But I love hanging out with the actors, and so I always befriend them, and then it always gets me in trouble. But
Sure.
I don't know what you were asking.
Just about creating the character in regards to the actor.
I do, like, I'll give you an example. When I was doing Tootsie, an incredible comedian, Julie Halston, was
she's
in
brilliant.
that.
Yeah.
And she had a smaller role. And I said, I'm giving you... This woman knew how to deliver jokes like, razor sharp. So yeah, you do. I tend to like to write for what people can do and what they're great at.
Yeah. Talk about casting that show. How much of the cast evolved from California to Goodspeed to Broadway? I mean, you had kids.
It was
so.
a lot of new.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody from the LA version came over.
Oh, really?
It was a whole new cast. I think it was a whole new cast.
But Goodspeed to Broadway was similar?
Yes, Goodspeed to Broadway was. I think there were 2 new people in it.
Gotcha.
Yes.
What were you guys looking for when you're casting? You were casting a group of kids, especially because you're talking
I
about
was gonna make
comedy
a joke,
too.
but
It's
I
so
can't make it.
specific.
Yeah, obviously it's a Jason Robert Brown score, so you're looking for kids who can understand it, and you're just looking for talent. You're looking for kids that have this charisma that you think you can work with, but that also can handle the comedy. My comedy is quite sophisticated. I don't mean that in a self-flattering way, but it was not.
No.
It was a show of 13-year-olds, but the comedy was like the music was very mature and difficult, and so we looked for people that could do all that,
right, and understand it.
Yes.
You mentioned it. We have to talk about it. Ariana Grande, casting Ariana Grande. Do you remember her audition?
Yeah, Ariana Grande came in with Aaron Simon Gross. They were both from Boca Raton, Florida.
Yes.
And they came in together and auditioned together, the same back to back, basically, and both of them were hired.
Wow.
I mean, both of them. I mean, with Ari, you just knew she was a star.
Yeah.
She had something. She had that. When you're casting any show, it's you're looking for somebody that when I talk to actors or give talkbacks and things, I always say the one thing you can bring to an audition is you. Mm-hmm. You're doing the same material as everybody else. Usually, you may sing your own song or something, but usually you're given a song. But the one thing nobody else can do is you. And who are you when you walk in that room? And what are you bringing to that room and that material? And Ariana and Aaron, they both walked in and they just had something special. Mm-hmm. And you just knew they were stars.
Yeah.
I know it sounds kind of corny, but it's true. You feel a vibe, and Ari, she opened her mouth, and Jason was like, "Done, you're singing this score."
Wow, that's awesome. So you guys transferred to Broadway.
We did,
and the run was not lengthy.
It was not. Unfortunately, it was during the housing crisis. 12 shows closed the day that we closed. Broadway basically shut down.
Unbelievable.
It was also a hard show to sell, because it was the first show. The band was all teenagers. The cast were all teenagers.
Oh, really? The band was too?
Everybody were teenagers. And it was sort of hard to sell that on Broadway in those days.
Right.
It was not a common thing. I got a cult following, but it wasn't really a massive hit. It was, but people that would come back over and over.
I was going to say, and subsequently it became a huge
now it's
culty
done well.
thing, I want to talk about the movie, because the movie is actually much more different than I even realized.
Yeah, I can't talk about that.
Sure.
Here's the thing about the movie. Jason, you tell them. Netflix bought it, and I think ultimately they just sort of wanted to make a different movie than the play was really about 13-year-olds who aspire to be 16-year-olds. The movie was about was really for 9-year-olds who aspire to be 13-year-olds. Right. And they cut like a bunch of the best songs that were really story driven. They just had a formula for which they wanted to do it, and it wasn't wrong. It just didn't work with that show.
Sure.
So it was frustrating, but I loved the executives we worked with. It didn't gel as a movie. It wasn't.
Well, what I will say about the movie, because I watched it recently, and
sorry.
No, I wasn't saying anything bad.
I'll say it.
I don't say anything bad. But but what I was gonna say is that the vibe of it felt like like it was going for a Descendants type of energy.
Yeah, it was a very young. They went for the sort of young Disney Channel kind of thing, and that's not what 13.
I was gonna say, because when I saw 13, there was a high school in our community who did it, and when I saw it, I was like, "Whoa, this is a show
it's pretty." It touches on themes that are very adult in a sense of coming of age, and again, the music is really difficult, and the humor is very sophisticated
and honest,
very honest.
Because the actor's trying to understand it, the audience, especially for younger kids, for them to understand it, it's going to need to be a quick 15-year-old. And that's some of them were. That's why I built that cult of like, oh, this is for me, and also I'm not being treated.
There wasn't a musical before this that kids could do in school, like in community theaters or schools. It was a bunch of,
South Pacific.
Young kids, putting baby powder in their hair and doing Fiddler on the Roof. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they're 12.
Yeah.
And so this was finally a show for them.
Yeah.
And it took off in licensing.
And a lot of the humor in it is like, this is what 13-year-olds are saying when the teachers aren't around.
That's exactly what it is. Because I basically am a 13-year-old in my soul.
Sure. So that, I think it's it's very interesting, and that the tone is so specific, and I think that maybe that was the.
It's a very specific, the music, and I always say a good musical feels like one person wrote it, and Jason and I just connected. Our humor is so alike, and if you could feel that in the musical version, not in the movie version.
I think that's the case with all of the shows you write. I really do mean that.
I've been really lucky to write with incredible composers who I vibe with.
Yeah, and it shows. So after that, did you have a desire to go back to LA?
After that, I did do I went back to LA and did a TV show, which was sort of a disaster.
Okay, wait, I have to talk about it because we watched it. I watched that show, Partners. You're talking about. I watched Partners live. Me and my mom, we sat and we watched it every week, and we actually really liked it for what it's worth.
You're the ones.
Yeah, it was us.
It was you guys. I heard laughter from somewhere. It was two voices. I was like, who is that?
And I mean, what did I know at the time? But I was like, this might get picked up for a second season. And
it was called a 1090. It was this whole different formula, which doesn't exist. We killed it. We actually were able to kill that formula. But normally, we were talking before about how you do a pilot. You make a pilot. And if they decide to put the pilot on, they'll order 13 episodes. Right. And then if it does well, they'll order the full season. And that's how it's done. A 1090 is they order 10 episodes, and they air the 10 episodes. And if those episodes do a certain demographic, you have to hit a certain number between 18 and 49-year-olds, blah, blah, blah. Then they have to pick it up. If you hit that mark, that's a pre-decided on mark, they pick it up for 90 episodes. And you shoot 90 episodes in 2 years. So 90 episodes usually takes about 5 years to make. You make it in 2 years. You do 2 episodes a week. There's no rehearsal. It's all block and shoot. And it's a crazy schedule. There was George Lopez had the George Lopez show, which was a 1090. And then there was the one that Charlie Sheen did. Yeah. Before that.
Anger Management?
Anger Management was a 1090. And then we were a 1090, and the show starred Kelsey Grammer and Martin Lawrence. And we didn't...
Rory O'Malley, too?
I love Rory, yes.
Yeah, which
Rory
I knew him from that. He went on to Hamilton and all this stuff, but I knew him from Partners. And I had no idea that you were on Partners, but
So I went back to LA and did Partners, and then stayed and did a couple of other pilots, and then...
And I imagine the reason why Partners wasn't successful was just because it didn't meet that demographic.
It was on FX, which was a new network.
Right.
That people did not really go to for comedies. And it was a sitcom. It was a multicam sitcom show, and it just didn't work.
Right.
But it was a great experience, and those guys were so much fun.
They're legends.
They were so much fun.
Yeah.
We had a great time. It just didn't last.
Yeah. What year was that? What year was Partners?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I can't remember. I thought I had it written down somewhere.
I would say it was
2010 maybe?
Yeah, probably.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Is there a certain amount when you're writing sitcoms of joke, like a quota that you have to hit?
Well, they say 3 jokes a page.
3 jokes a page.
That's what they say when in multicam sitcoms.
Wow.
But it changed. I will do 12 jokes a page.
Right. Right. Yeah. Interesting. So I in doing research for you, found these gems that I had no idea about, that I was like, and this is common knowledge. It's just something I didn't know, I think. You wrote Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure.
I did.
The Sweet Life movie.
I did.
And the Teen Beach movie and Teen Beach 2.
No, I didn't do Teen Beach 2. My name was on it, but I didn't do it.
Okay, gotcha. The Sweet Life and Sharpay in particular were staples of our childhood.
You know that they're on Disney Plus, and people still, kids still come to me and be
sure.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm sure
they adore it, especially Teen Beach. That was Teen Beach at the time that it came out was the second highest rated movie in the history of cable television.
Wow.
Only
after High School Musical 2.
2, yes.
Yeah.
You knew that.
I did
really
know that.
good. Yeah.
Because
you were the ones too.
Oh, I was going to say,
let's
if you
watch
thought Partners
and then watch High School Musical 2. That's a natural evolution.
That's what it was. That was the only thing I could fit on my DVR at the time when you could record 2 things at once. It was High School Musical 2.
That's true. Remember that?
Yeah.
So actually what happened was I had written 13, and Disney came to me and said, we want you to write, young adult movies for us.
Wow.
And in those days, nobody on television did musicals. They just didn't exist.
Right.
The only place you could do them was Disney Channel.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I mean, if it's a chance for me to do musicals, I'll do it. I said, but you did see 13, right? You know that my humor is adult.
But at that point, you had already written Sweet Life and Sharpay's, right? Or no?
No, this was after 13.
No, I'm saying Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure and Sweet Life preceded Teen Beach.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So Disney already had a
no, I
relationship
think it was
with
after. No, they did precede Teen Beach,
Yeah,
but
okay.
but 13 was first. The play, 13,
Yeah,
Broadway,
yeah.
and that they saw that, and then that's also where Nickelodeon saw Ari and Liz. They came and saw 13, and then gave them.
And how funny, because it 13, like we said, didn't run that long, and yet it
made a lot of stars.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so talk to me how you got approached by Disney from 13, and did they went to Teen Beach first, or was it Sharpay's first, or what was?
I smoked a lot of weed in the 80s, so it was Teen Beach was first, and then Sharpay.
Okay, gotcha. Let's talk about High School Musical is the biggest movie on cable television at all.
Yeah.
They decide to write High School Musical 3 came out in a movie theater, and now they're going back to television movies to create a spin-off, Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure. That's what Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure is. And it's her going through New York, I think.
It's her going to New York to be an actress, and she thinks they want to cast her, but they want to cast her dog.
Right.
What was I thinking?
Did you?
I mean, I didn't dig very deep into the story barrel, did I? I know. We'll make it about her dog.
But so you proposed that idea. That was you pitching the. Okay. So, but this is like an incredibly famous character. This is like did you feel like a responsibility?
Not at all.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a.
I'll be honest.
Question.
I didn't see the High School Musical movies.
Really?
Yes, I had not seen them.
Wow.
So I didn't know.
Yeah. Sure.
I knew that she was that character was beloved, and she had become really famous. Ashley Tisdale for it. But yeah, no.
What about Sweet Life? Had you seen Sweet Life beforehand?
No. I mean, they give you DVDs and you binge watch it before you write it.
Yeah, sure. That's so funny. So with Sharpay's, what was that experience like? Because I just, even aside from the responsibility from Disney, I imagine on top of you based on this incredibly beloved character, right?
Yeah. I mean, at that time, Disney Channel, I don't know who's there now, but the executives were incredible. I mean, they knew their brand, they knew their franchises, they knew what they wanted, and they would give you those parameters. We need this, but they also let me write. I mean, Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure has some jokes in it that I'm like, I can't believe I got away with that.
Right.
So, but they were really wonderful, and it was great. The reason I don't love movies as much as I love television and theater is because movies are very much a director's medium.
Right.
And as a writer, often, as with Teen Beach and Sharpay, I was not asked to be on set during filming. So once I'm done, they go off and film it. I'm not even there because the script is locked at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm not even there. So my experience was all the early part of it, and then at the preview, I got to meet I met the actors.
Sure. On the sitcoms that you were working on, were you on set all the time?
Oh yes, because on sitcoms you're the executive producer. It's your show. Right. So TV is a producer's medium.
Yeah.
It's not a director's medium.
Interesting.
Film is a director's medium.
Where did the idea for the Sweet Life movie come about?
I have no idea. I think they had it already.
Oh, okay.
They just asked me to then come on and
I can't remember at that time if Sweet Life...
There's a submarine in it, I think.
Yeah, it's something to do with aliens, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know... I can't remember if that was the end of Sweet Life. I don't think it was. If that was how the Sweet Life story concluded. I don't think that's the case, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
So
I remember
can you
going
look that up?
to
Look that up for me, Chris.
Vancouver. They shot it in Vancouver, and I went up there. That was the only time I went up to Vancouver while they were shooting it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
They wanted some rewrites.
So you did get to punch things up.
On that one, yeah.
Were you writing these alone?
No, there was I don't remember her name, but somebody was on board with that, and I went and joined her, and I can't remember her name. The other ones, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Teen Beach, there was an existing script. So it was it started off as an idea that they had from an existing script that I then took and ran with and changed.
Gotcha. So at this point, when do you decide to? Well, why weren't you involved in Teen Beach 2?
I wasn't involved in Teen Beach 2 because it's a long story. I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
Sure. Okay. Sure.
I was shooting Partners.
Oh, okay. Yes, because I actually did write it down. Partners was 2014.
And so
Partners was after us.
I asked them. They asked me to do Teen Beach 2. I said, look, I have a show on the air. I'm shooting 10 episodes. I'm not available until like December. Mm-hmm. And what happened is a lot of the actors, they had them contractually for a second one, but that contract was going to end. And they said, we can't wait for you. And so I pitched some stories.
Yeah.
But I have, you know what? I swear to you, I've not seen Teen Beach 2.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I don't think I have either, honestly.
Yeah.
I saw I've seen Teen Beach 1. But did you look that up about Sweet Life?
Yeah, it was.
It was the end.
It came out like 2 weeks after
the finale. Wow. So that was the way the Sweet Life franchise ended, which was at that point, I think Disney Channel's biggest franchise.
Yeah,
that wasn't High School Musical, like a big, but it was 3 years.
That was before the Miley Cyrus one, right? Yeah.
It was a simultaneous.
Okay.
But it was like you did, and actually I think it actually started before Hannah Montana and then ended after Hannah Montana.
I love these Gen Z kids.
Yeah.
Like they know all these shows.
Well, it's true because I mean, Sweet Life was like my Sweet Life, Drake and Josh, like those were like.
What happened to those kids?
They went to NYU. And Cole he was on Riverdale for a while, and now he's doing a bunch of like indies and stuff. And then Dylan, same thing. Dylan just did a big movie of some sorts. Yeah. They're still working. They're still working. And they had actually pitched a Sweet Life reboot that Disney didn't go for, so it never wound up happening. Anyway, so let's talk about why did you, after doing all, you were back in LA.
Yeah.
Why you decided to pivot back to theater?
My heart was in theater.
Yeah.
So what happened was sitcoms just died. Mm-hmm. Survivor came on the air, and the networks realized they could make a lot of money with much cheaper reality shows, and audiences were eating it up. And it was
American Idol,
Big Brother, all those. And so they started programming less and less half-hour comedies, and you just couldn't sell a comedy. So I had to go where the work was.
Right.
And it's writing theater, writing a musical is so different than writing film and TV. And it's a difficult transition. And a lot of writers can't do it for many reasons. But I think when you're writing TV or film, it all has to be on the page. The story. When you're writing a musical, you have to hold yourself back because you can't be redundant to what the song is about to do. And the song has to tell the story. So it's a really fine art to work with a composer and learn how far you can go with the book to where you have to suspend your imagination and sing. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard for a lot of writers to write and not write at the same time.
In theory, a good musical, the songs are advancing the plot.
Yes.
In theory.
It doesn't
often happen.
Good music.
Sometimes
they're advancing the plot. Sometimes they're just giving you an inner monologue.
Yeah, sure. Sure. But that's why you're constant. That's what, to your point, you're doing a balancing act of like, the song and the book.
I just love musicals. And
yeah, me too.
I started off wanting to be a playwright before I went to California. Right. And nobody would give me a job. I couldn't sell anything. And so I didn't expect to have this career in television that I got.
Yeah.
But I always knew I was going to go back to theater.
Yeah.
I just always knew that was where I was going to end up.
So in 2015, you work on Moonshine, the Hee Haw musical.
Oh, that's true.
So, which essentially, in theory, became Shucked.
In theory.
But this is based on a TV show.
So there was a TV show on the air for like 25 years called Hee Haw,
yeah.
which was this blue collar country variety skit music show, sort of variety show.
Right.
And yes, so it was on the air for years, and it did not age well. It was kind of very misogynistic and homophobic, but that was the comedy of those days.
Sure.
But yes.
What was the conceit going into this musical now? Because this is 2015.
Well, the Grand Ole Opry, which is a legendary country venue where it's a temple. It's just like the iconic place. The Opry owned all the rights to the Hee Haw TV show. So they said, well, we should make a musical out of this. We should. The property's just sitting there. So they came to me and said, we want to make a musical out of Hee Haw. And I said, okay, but I don't want to do a variety show. I want to do a book musical. So if you're okay with that. So Hee Haw wasn't about anything. It was just these little skits and characters that were 10 seconds long or 15 seconds long. And then Loretta Lynn comes out and sings.
Right.
And so I came up with a story to start with that became Moonshine.
And so how, over the course of the last, 7 years or so, this, the country idea at least, was turned into Shucked.
Yeah. Yes, sort of. There was a big pause in the middle of it. So we did the show in Dallas, and the audience really liked it. Got very mixed reviews, but
how did you make it how did you make it a linear plot out of Hee Haw? Like, what did you
I came up with a plot.
Okay. No. I mean I meant more so like, what were you plucking?
No, I created my own characters.
Oh, okay.
I created my own characters. No, we used some Easter eggs from the TV show, but it was my own characters and it's a separate a linear plot.
Yeah.
And so, but we really never figured out what it was.
Sure.
We didn't know why we were telling this story, other than they hired us to write Hee Haw.
Right.
And it just sort of didn't work because it didn't know what it was. It didn't. Why? Whenever you write a musical, you ask yourself, why are we telling the story now?
Yeah. Who's composing it then?
Shane and Brandy.
Okay.
So what happened is they hired me to write this, and they set me. They knew they wanted authentic country artists. They didn't want Broadway people writing country, and so they sent me to Nashville to meet with songwriters. And they all along knew they wanted Brandy and Shane, but I met with like 5 different people, and it was just sort of like, when you write a musical, it's a marriage. It's a marriage. You're like you gotta pour out all your secrets. You have to be so vulnerable to write honestly for characters. And I met with these, and they're all great songwriters, but they're like, cutoffs and cowboy hats and like, are you one of them gays? And so I was like, I don't know if I can work with them. And then I met Shane and Brandy, and the minute, literally, we met at ASCAP in Nashville, and truly it was love at first. So, and we just I loved their music.
Right.
They understood the assignment, and we just fell in love.
Yeah.
So we did it in Dallas, and it didn't work. And then we put it to rest. We let the option with Opry expire, and we just walked away and said, this isn't really going to work.
Right. We'll put a pin in there, and we'll go to Tootsie real quick because I saw the band's visit, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was just so blown away. It was still is one of my favorite musicals I've ever seen on Broadway. And David Yazbek, this guy who I had never heard of until band's visit, is writing this new show very shortly after the band's visit. It was like a year later.
What, Tootsie?
Tootsie.
Was before.
Well, you guys did the Chicago run before, right?
Yes.
Right. And but I had heard about it because it was coming to Broadway it was only a year later.
Yeah.
And I was so stoked about it, and it met and I didn't know the movie. I didn't know any. I was just seeing this musical. Talk to me about how it came to you, and how you got attached to Tootsie.
Well, I was working on another musical. So an incredible producer, Scott Sanders, who you all may know from, he did the Color Purple movie, and he did In the Heights movie, and he did the original Color Purple on Broadway, and Pee-wee's Broadway show, and he's a legendary producer. He worked at Sony and left Sony and got the rights to certain movies, one of them being Tootsie. And they had a bunch of writers on it, and it just wasn't working. They just couldn't really figure it out. And I was in New York working on a musical with Jerry Mitchell and Shaman and Whitman, which did not go forward, but it was a great idea for a musical. Oh my gosh. And I got a phone call from my agent saying they want to meet with you for Tootsie. And I said, I don't want to write Tootsie. I was like, first of all, it's the number 2 best movie of all times from American Film Institute. Wow. And I was like, I don't want that target on my back. People love this movie. And I felt like it didn't age well. I felt like the times had changed, and laughing at a man putting on a dress and perpetrating the idea, somebody else's identity, I thought that's not going to work. That we don't live in that world anymore. And so, but it was David Yazbek, and I said I really want to meet Yazbek because I loved Full Monty and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. I love this guy.
Yeah.
So I said I'm going to go. So I said no, I wasn't going to take the meeting. And then Scott Sanders called my agent and said, "Tell Mr. Horn he's in New York on my dime. He is taking this meeting," because I was there working on a show that he was producing. So I went and met with Yazbek, and I said I'm going to tell them what I would do, and I'm going to blow this. And that way, I took the meeting, I went and I met with Yazbek and the director at the time, and pitched my idea, which was honor the DNA of the movie, but went in a very different direction. And it was a horrible meeting. And I walked out and I said, "Thank God I blew that." And I went back to LA and got a phone call literally a day later saying, "Can you come back to New York? David wants to spend the day with you and just talk to you." And I did, and I spent the day with David, and that was it. I was like, I'm working with this guy.
So the original meeting was not with David?
The original meeting was with David, yes.
Oh,
and at the time it was another director.
A different director.
Yeah.
But so you were the one who proposed the idea to make it that he was auditioning for a musical, not a soap opera. And
yeah, because soap operas had died by that year, 2018, whatever it was, and there were no soap operas anymore. And also, again, why does something want to sing? Why does it want to be a musical? So we wanted to put it in a world where the music would be organic to the story, and by putting it in the world of theater, I also wanted to write I wanted it to be a love letter to American musical theater, which it is.
It is. Yeah. It absolutely is. So you guys hit it off, and you start developing Tootsie the musical.
We had the best time. We spent a year just talking.
Wow.
We said we're not going to write it. There were so many landmines that we had to overcome. Story-wise and plot-wise and character-wise. Right. And so we spent a year just talking, David and I, until we started writing.
Wow. Where did the idea of Santino playing Michael come about?
I'm going to tell you where that came about. Scott Ellis, who is a legendary director of theater as well as television, and now is the artistic director at Roundabout. He came on to do it. The director that was doing it went and did a different project, and the timing, he couldn't do Scott Sanders had gotten a theater in Chicago, and we needed to be finished to go into that theater, and the director didn't have time, so we met with other directors, and we met with Scott Ellis. And so he said, "I'll do it, but I'll only do it if Santino plays Michael Dorsey." He had known Santino. He said, "This is the right guy for it," and those were his conditions. He said, "I'm doing it, but Santino's playing it," and he was right.
Yeah. I mean, Santino won a Tony for it. Santino was brilliant.
He is brilliant. And in fact, I'm writing a new play. We're doing a table read in 2 weeks, and he's one of the stars. I'm bringing him into one of the stars.
Oh, that's exciting. I mean, I love him. He's brilliant, and also his voice fits so perfectly for the show too, because he's this countertenor.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
he's also got this falsetto. Yeah. That's incredible, and he worked really hard to embody that character and to make it feel authentic.
Right.
And the most important thing with Tootsie was it could never feel like drag. If it was drag, it was not going to work. It had to be about a guy, because I always ask the question, what would you do if somebody told you could no longer do the thing you loved more than anything? How far would you go to do that? And so this was about an actor who was a perfectionist but an asshole. Can I say that? But a douchebag. But he, in his mind, he was creating a character that was a real character.
Right.
And so when he became Dorothy Michaels, he was literally, as an actor, wanted to create a honest character. So it was really important that it didn't ever feel like it was just drag.
Yeah, and also it was this idea that he's doing it not because he wants to do it. He's doing it because he feels like he has no choice.
He has no choice because he can't work. Otherwise, no one will hire him. And this opportunity, these series of events happens, and somebody else is, Sandy is auditioning for a musical, and she says, "Read this with me," and he's desperate, and he says, I'm going to go in for that part.
Right. I want to talk about working with Yazbek. We've talked to a bunch of collaborators of Yazbek's.
He's worked with other people?
Yeah. Ooh, I forgot to tell you. But no, I really do believe, I've said it so many times, but I do believe he's one of the best, if not the best, working composer in the music theater right now. And
I wouldn't say he's the best.
Yeah. But
like that.
but no, he's brilliant.
He's when you listen to a show that David Yazbek wrote, it's a David Yazbek show, even though it's never repetitive.
Right.
He's got a style that is so uniquely him, and not many composers can really write funny. And he won an Emmy Award for being on Letterman. He won on the David Letterman show, won an Emmy for it. He is hysterical.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we both have very kind of collegiate fart humor, which we both love. And it was an instant bonding, the two of us.
And it showed. The comedy, you would have thought that it was one person. You would not know that it was two different people who were doing different things on the show, because you weren't. You had very similar intentions, and that showed. And the voices for the characters felt the same. Yeah. It was one of those things where I think what's going to happen is, I'm surprised that more people don't do it in auditions. I think it's just brilliant.
It's a really hard show. David Yazbek can write a patter song. Like, what's the one he did from Women on the Verge? That
Model Behavior.
Yeah, I mean, he's brilliant at that.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and
he's brilliant at everything.
He's everybody sees the composing in terms of like Band's Visit or shows where he's like, wow, he's reinventing himself. Those lyrics. If you're going into a Yazbek show, you're going to get a trick lyric.
His music is complicated, but his lyrics are also, you go, oh, and that just hit me over the head.
He loves good wordplay, and he's very smart.
Yeah, and also I do this thing. But
I will say this: he's got really bad body odor. Yeah. Nobody knows this.
Wow, that's an exclusive.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's like kind of curry and matzo brie.
Oh, wow. That's pretty specific, though. Yeah. We'll make sure to post that on Instagram and tag him in it.
Me too.
Yeah. No, I do this thing. This thing is my auditions, is like one of my go-tos, and people don't know it. So people are always like, where's that from? What is that?
The Bellman song?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny, that song.
I love that song. And so that character's voice, super specific, super different. And from is that character in the movie?
He's not in the movie.
I was gonna say I didn't think he was. But how funny I'll never forget sitting in the theater. It was previews, and it's the best joke. It's so funny. It was he looks and he's talking about how he was doing yoga. This is Max, the character from Tootsie, and he goes, "Namaste, Namago."
But Bellman can sell anything. Bellman is
awesome.
The Dick Van Dyke of our generation. Bellman is a premier comedic actor.
Yeah, well, I had never seen him before Tootsie, and now I mean he's Shucked and Smash, and he was great at both of those too. And I guess talk to me about writing jokes for specific characters and what you're thinking about with Sandy and her patter, and versus Andy Gretelushin's character, or
he's good with names.
Yeah, you know me. Pulling them out.
I can't even say
Gretelushin.
I love it.
We're gonna. This will be a TikTok eventually, and Angelina will have to type in Gretelushin into the captions. But no, it's very specific, and Max, and I guess what you're thinking about in terms of getting into the heads of these characters.
Well, when you write, especially when you write comedy, I'll speak for that. You want to write jokes that no other character could say. Mm-hmm. Like only that character could say that joke, which is hard to do. And Tootsie also, I worked with those actors, and they, it was a collaborative thing. Some of the stuff in there is they ad-libbed, and I said, that's staying in. But you just write, the characters live in your head for the whole time you're writing, truly. Like barely, the characters talk to you. It's sort of they live in your head, and you write for them. The jokes just come because the stakes of the scene have to be so high that you know what's at stake in the scene. Now just make it funny.
Yeah.
How many times have you written a joke that's so good, but that character wouldn't say it? You have to cut it.
Oh no, I'll give it to a different character. I'll throw nothing away, or I'll put it in a different show.
No scraps.
Did you ever see the Joan Rivers documentary?
No,
There's
I never did.
a wonderful documentary about Joan Rivers, and she has a file, like a whole wall of like index cards, filing system, and she keeps all these jokes in. She kept all these jokes in a file, and when she needed, I have every joke I've ever written is in a file on my computer, and sometimes I'll go, I need a joke there. Let me go back and so yeah.
Wow.
And sometimes it doesn't work because that character wouldn't say it. But yeah. And I'll say that doesn't work. But you know who might say that or a different version of it? Because jokes are a combination of things. It's a setup and a structure and a punchline and or it's sometimes it's character driven, sometimes it's story driven. So yeah.
What about how many options are you writing for different jokes where you're like, well, we could do
I'm notorious for this.
Yeah.
I write many options for jokes.
Yeah.
And in the rehearsal process, I will come in tomorrow and give an actor, and I'll go to Santino or I'll go to Julie Halston or I'll say, okay, here's 8 choices for this joke. I don't think the one there is working. What do you like? And I'll help, the actors will pick what they like.
Wow.
Or they'll say to me, Robert, give it a chance. Let it work. Here's the difficult thing about doing comedy in theater. You do a table read when you first start rehearsal and it's great. And then you rehearse it and it's great. And by like the 3rd or 4th day, nothing's funny anymore because everybody's heard it over and over and over. And so you're like, this isn't going to work. It's not funny. No one's laughing. Why is nobody laughing? And you just have to trust your instinct of trusting that it's funny in the first place. Yes.
Right.
It's a really big thing with theater being alive is that although it comes with the greatness of it, it also comes with being things running dry, running dry. In terms of, you said movies are a director's medium, so it seems far more clear cut when you're making, you go, all right, that joke's it's locked in. Whereas with this, what do you think is like the biggest difference in terms of, was there any jokes where you're like whether in tech or something, like, man, we just have to, I had this new one in my head, we have to change it now.
Yeah. It's hard to change stuff in tech because tech is really about the technical side of the show. But yeah, I mean, you can write a show and you can think it's going to be great or it's going to, whatever it is, you have no idea what that show is until first preview, until an audience comes in and tells you what that show. I will think something is so funny, and there was a joke in Tootsie. I thought it was one of the funniest things I've ever written. Crickets. Audience never left, and I refused to cut that joke. I was like, no, I am keeping that joke. And all through previews, and Scott Ellis would say, girl, you got to cut that joke. And what?
Do you remember the joke?
Yeah, I do remember the joke. And then, in fact, Andy Grodelution, for opening night, gave everybody tote bags with that joke, with the punchline of that joke written on it.
Oh, no way.
And I refused to cut that joke. I loved it. And then the night that we froze the show, I gave in. I said, all right, I'll cut the joke. And then I put it back in for the tour, and it did not work, and I cut it for the tour as well.
Oh, man. What was the joke? Can you tell us?
Yeah, I got to remember. It probably won't be verbatim. There was a character of Ron Carlisle, who was the director.
Brilliant. He was brilliant.
And he's trying to convince Julie to go out with him, to be with him, and he goes to her house, and he shows up at her house in Act 2, and he's trying to plead his case, and he goes, something like, I'm sweet as well as wealthy or something. And he goes, you have to understand, I grew up in a very formal household. At family functions, my parents would make us Robert for apples.
Robert for apples.
See, that was it. Because you bob for apples.
Oh.
And it was a formal household. I know. That's what the audience said.
Sure.
And you would literally hear people in the audience go, what?
Yeah, sure.
And so I had to cut it, but I loved that joke.
Right. Yeah, well, it's a clever joke.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about changing the. Well, actually, no. We should talk about the success of Tootsie. Well, actually, okay. Wait. I'm like all over the place. I have so many Tootsie. I'm cutting myself off. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm gonna do a monologue. You sit here.
He's a cutter. He's a cutter.
Yeah. Right. What did you learn in Chicago before bringing it to Broadway? Was the question I was gonna ask.
Again, the audience tells you what works and what doesn't. We changed it about 30% from Chicago to stuff that was just ran too long, stuff that structurally did not change that much. There were a couple of scenes that we condensed, But really, the show that ended up on Broadway was the show that was in Chicago.
Were you worried about the reception considering the movie?
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
freaking out about it. I was like, this could be the end of my career. It literally could be the end. People just are so protective of that movie and the jokes in that movie. The interesting thing is, I knew Larry Gelbart, who wrote the movie, as well as Elaine May, worked on it, a bunch of writers. And I knew that I didn't want to write the show. I didn't want the tail to wag the dog. I didn't want to say, I've got to keep these jokes because the audience wants it. I knew I was going to write my show, and then if any of the jokes made it back in, then they did. And only 3 jokes, I think, from the movie are in. Everything else. But I wrote it in the style of Larry Gelbart and the writers. So people would say to me, that joke was in the movie. I'm like, it wasn't. But it feels like it was.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's interesting.
Is it though?
Yeah, I think so.
Really interesting. You all drop
so.
Everything. Listen to this. Listen to this.
I think it's worth it.
Here's what you do.
It might be interesting enough for a TikTok even.
Well, that clock is
if you're lucky.
Yes.
Yeah. So Tootsie it comes to New York, and it is a huge success. You guys get great reviews. You won the Drama Desk for Best Musical.
Yes.
And you win a Tony Award for Best Book for Musical. Well deserved.
Thank you.
I covet my Tootsie book that I got from the Broadway flea market.
I'll get you one. Yeah.
But
it
what were you saying?
It's a pretty big compliment to you. It was, how many shows had we had at that? We had like 2 musicals. We only had like Groundhog Day.
Oh yeah. In terms of books, I
hadn't seen Tootsie, and you came out and you're like, dude, read this.
Yeah. Because because I was like, no, what I told you to do was open this book to any page, and there will be a joke there that will make you stomach laugh. Like, and you could do it right now. Like, and it's the same thing for Shucked. Like, you could open it to any page, and there's a joke in there that's genuinely laugh out loud funny. You know what I mean? And that's a testament to you. I really I loved Tootsie. I love Tootsie, and I'm so glad that so many regionals are doing it now.
It's done everywhere and all over Europe. It's like over. I mean, everywhere in the world.
Yeah,
they're doing this show. Yeah, it was a tough time to do that show,
right? Because
the world was changing and society was changing, and the trans movement was really taking hold, and the idea of equality, what that meant. And we sort of became a lightning rod as a reflection of, can something like this even exist anymore? Should it exist anymore? Mm-hmm. So there were 2 worlds with Tootsie. There was the world of the show as a piece of musical theater, and where the show fit into the culture as the culture was changing. So it was a little tough in that respect. And then COVID hit, and that was it.
Right. Yeah. Well, Doubtfire went through a similar thing as well. And in certain respects, so did Something Like It Hot.
Something Like It Hot did,
yeah.
Yes.
We talked about winning the Tony and what it was like being up on that stage, giving that speech. Did you how prepped were you? What was all that?
Well, not to brag, but prior to the Tony, I had won. There's 4 awards every season. There's the Outer Critics, New York Critics, Drama Desk, and then the Tonys. And I had won all of them up to that point. And so I sort of said, this is my luck. I'm going to lose this one. But every time I would make a speech for those other awards, I would start building up what a speech could be. They tell you have 90 seconds from the time your name is announced to the time you have to walk off the stage. And that includes running down the aisle of Radio City Music Hall. And so I also know jokes are money. And I need it to be funny because it's going to get me the next job.
Right.
And so I just sort of came up with jokes that I knew I wanted to tell and kind of built a speech around it.
Right.
But I really, honestly, and people are like, you're right, I did not know if I would win that award or not.
Well, there's no way you could ever actually know, right?
You just don't know.
Yeah.
It was a competitive year, and you just don't know.
Yeah.
And I was ready for, it's such a bucket list moment, that was from the time my mom took me to see 70 Girls 70, I wanted a Tony Award. That's all I ever wanted. Didn't want an Oscar, didn't care about an Emmy, wanted a Tony. To me, that's the mecca. And to do it basically on my second show was unbelievable to me. I felt like everything after that is just gravy.
Yeah, right. That's special.
Although I really wanted to win it for Shucked.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
but no, that's pretty special. Did you feel because the thing about winning awards too is, and we talk about this, is like, there's an economic status thing that changes. There's a people want you more. Did you feel what was it like right after the Tonys? What was it like the weeks succeeding the Tonys?
Let me say this also. On the Tonys, it was a Radio City Music Hall, which is 5,000-6,000 people. I mean,
Crazy.
thousands and thousands of people.
Right.
I'm not a performer. I'm not, so to get a laugh in Radio City, I understand why actors want to act. You just feel this wave of and it's petrifying. I was terrified. I don't like talking in front of people. I was terrified. Literally my life, it changed my life.
Yeah, right.
I literally went from, that guy who wrote 13, to everybody being offered everything, being offered a lot. It literally within a month or two. Wow. I was just, it did change my life.
Wow. And so then at that point, then how do you, I guess, diversify the things that are worth taking and the things that you're like, I'm not sure that this is for me, but people want me on it?
Yeah. Well, sometimes you say yes to those and then you're sorry you did.
Sure.
But it was sort of, because it had taken me so long to make it in theater. Because again, I left into TV for 30 years and then came back into theater. I just started to say yes to everything because I was like, I don't know how long this is going to last, but I'm going to. And then I sort of had to weed that out and say, I only want to write something that I really love writing, that I feel like I have something to say about it. And so, but also there's a lot of stuff that you're like, no, that should not be a musical. No, what are you thinking?
So then now you win the Tony, and all of a sudden you decide to, call back Shane and Brandy, and are like, let's do this.
I won the Tony, and producers kept coming to me and say, what do you want to do now? What do you want to do now? Whatever you want to do, tell us what you want to do. And I wanted to do Shucked. When we were working on Moonshine, there was the seed of an idea that I always loved. And the world had really started to change by the time we started writing Shucked. The country had become very divided.
Right.
Certain presidents came into office that sort of, the culture was shifting. And I wanted to write something about it. And so I called Shane and Brandy and I said, let's start over. Are you willing to start over with me? And they said, absolutely. And I said, there was an idea that I remember us having when we were writing Moonshine that I want to lean into. And it basically became Shucked, which is about if you don't open your heart to people who are different than you, you can't grow. And corn became my way of making an analogy for growth, because at the beginning of the show, the corn dies, and when these people learn to open their hearts to an outsider, the corn grows back.
Right. Yeah, that's how much of it though.
I gave away the plot. Uh-oh.
Yeah, you just.
It's really not much of a plot.
You just spoiled it. Yeah. No, but how much of the characters? How much of the characters were the same? How much of the?
It was completely different.
Really?
Well, I mean, some of them were the same. Like Kevin Cahoon, Peanut was the same.
Okay.
Because I had written so many jokes that I loved. I said, I'm not throwing those out. I'm bringing those back.
Yeah. And how about the music? Was any of the music the same?
There's one song from Dallas that's left in the show.
Oh, really? What song was it?
Best Man Wins.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, sure. So Shucked doesn't happen very much anymore. An original musical, right? I mean, when you see those, no matter whether or not you know they're good or bad, you just want to support them because somehow, some way, this original musical is happening at all. It's pretty miraculous.
Yeah. Well, our producer Mike Bosner. I don't even know where to start with Mike Bosner. Mike Bosner he had done at that time Beautiful and the Glen Close Sunset Boulevard and a bunch of stuff. And he's young. He was like 35. And he understood that theater was changing. It was a new world. You had to spend money differently. You had to advertise differently. You had to reach people differently. And he was on the forefront of that. And he loved country music. He loves country music. And he had heard about Moonshine, that it was funny, but it had died. So he kind of had an awareness of the show. And then actually when we wrote a first draft, and there was another producer that I had gotten on board, and Shane called me and said, Mike Bosner's wife, Brittany, who's fantastic, works on the Today Show. And Shane had his own record label, and he had one of his, artists on the Today Show. She booked it, and Shane and her became friends and started talking. And Shane said, "Hey, I'm writing this country musical." And she said, "Well, my husband's a producer. Can I show it to him?" And they showed it to Mike Bosner, and Mike said, "I'm doing this show." He loved the idea; it was original. He loved the score that they had written, even though much of it has changed since then. And he just said, "I know how to sell this."
Yeah.
And we're talking about no stars, country music, and an original musical, 3 things that people say will not work on Broadway.
Right.
But he's the kind of guy that if he believes in it, he will not rest until it's accomplished. And he shepherded us. He brought Jack O'Brien on. He knew Jack was right for it. And he shepherded us to success.
Yeah. And
The show would not happen without Mike Bosner.
yeah. Wow, that's awesome. I think that everyone in the city was so enamored at this idea that we're not being told anything about this show. You don't know what it's about. You've not heard a lick of the music. You just know that it's about corn. We're seeing pictures of corn. But it's such this clever tactic because it makes you so intrigued because it's funny and you're going, well, I'm wondering, what is that about?
Yeah.
And did you guys do an out of town run?
Yeah, we did at in where the Mormons are in Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City. Yes.
But Mike was so great. Here's another thing Mike said. He was like, look, for the ad campaign when we came to Broadway, he said, I don't want to do funniest show since Book of Mormon. That's not good. What does that mean? Nobody cares. Right. He said, I don't want to tell them we're funny. I want to show them we're funny. So he said to me, I want you to write one of the ad campaigns. And I started writing these fake pull quotes, which were plastered all over the subway. And they were hysterical. They were just so irreverent.
Yeah.
And he let me do that. And he let me help, as well as a great advertising agency, but he let me sell the tone of the show people what this is. And he said, I don't want anybody to know anything about this. Let's just say it's about corn and just put corn everywhere and let people go, what's this? And we became the Corn musical before anybody knew what it was.
Yeah. But it's the little things.
He
like
branded it. He was smart.
The first week of previews, you guys had a tractor running around Times Square.
Yeah.
And the whole cast is riding around in the tractor. And if you're walking through Times Square, you're going, what is that? And plaster all over it is shucked and shucked and shucked. And so I think the whole city kind of like garnered around 1, original musical. 2, this is funny. And if you want to laugh, you come here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But also heart. And
that's the thing about Shucked is people expect it. And listen, it is one of the things I did with Shucked, because when I went back to write it, I said, I'm going to write something the way I was told for years. Too many jokes, too funny, too many jokes, too funny. And I said, I'm just going to write a joke. I'm going to write a show that is nothing but jokes. But I'm going to then tell the audience there's a message in it that they don't see coming. Mm-hmm. And that's what happens in Shucked. You're laughing, and then suddenly there's this surprise at the end of the show that the audience doesn't expect, and people start to cry or gasp. You hear them go, I won't give it, you know what it is, I won't give it away, but they didn't see it coming. And people really respond to that.
Yeah. How much of the ideas that were in Shucked, the themes that are in Shucked, the characters, was you, and how much it was your collaborators and producers?
They were all literally Shane and Brandy and Mike and Jack O'Brien and I did that show together.
Yeah.
I mean, we all played our roles. Obviously, I'm the book writer, they're the composers, he's the director, producer. But everything was collaborative, and ideas were, we'd sit in a room where we'd bat around ideas and say, yes, okay, I'd be great, I'm going to go write that. Or Shane and Brad would go, that's a song. I know that's a song. Right. So it was the most collaborative project I've ever worked on.
Yeah, wow. And for what it's worth, I mean, it did very well in the city. It got multiple Tony noms. It was, in my opinion, one of the best Tony's medleys we'd ever had, because what's funny about the Tony's medleys is that they used to be medleys. Now they're just like, show us your best song.
Yeah.
Whereas with Shucked, you showed off all of the nominees. You got how funny it was. And
that was Sarah Oglibi, who's our choreographer, who's fantastic. She wanted to showcase everybody. And we got 9 Tony nominations, which was one of the most that year, other than...
was it Kimberly?
Kimberly Kimbo, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I was watching it, and I saw it twice. So I saw it once by myself, and then once with Angel, and I thought to myself, I was like, this is going to work so well on tour.
Yeah,
I was like this, and it is.
It's doing really well on tour.
Yeah, and
it's an American. It's like although we just opened it in London, it was a huge success.
Oh yeah, that's right. The London. Yeah, that's right.
It's very sort of Americana, and
Yeah.
it's one of those shows that was built for the road.
Yeah.
And so I mean, we definitely got a cult following in New York, and we lasted a while. It was tough. It was still the COVID just post COVID, like a year, 2 seasons after COVID, the second season after
the
COVID.
first real season after COVID, it feels
and
like.
people were not coming back to the theater. They were not spending money. It was still, this year was really this season was the first season that exploded again.
Yeah, but that season was no more masks, no more vaccine cards. It
but
was
people
like,
still were coming in masks, and honestly, masks are really horrible for comedy because laughter breeds laughter. If you're in a room and you hear other people laughing, you're going to laugh. And if that laughter is muzzled, it's tough. It's tough. But people were still, I'd say half the audiences would still mask.
And you ran in the city for almost a year.
Yeah.
It was like something like a April to January type thing. And I also just want to point this out because I think it's important. Shane and Brandy's music, which was when I heard you were on it, I was like, oh my gosh, can't wait. Jack, I was like, oh my gosh. Shane and Brandy, I knew Shane from Songland because he had just done Songland. He was brilliant on that. But I was like, but he's very familiar with pop country music, Casey Musgraves. And, and I was like, and I don't know if that's going to translate to musicals because those songs aren't necessarily narrative. And then you hear a song like I Do. Or a song like, which I think is my favorite song in the whole score. I love that song.
But country music is storytelling music.
Right.
And so really, it was such a natural evolution for them. They took to the only thing they really had to learn was in theater, a song, you can't tell the whole story in one song. You're telling a moment in time. And once they understood that, which they did right away, they took to it. I mean, they're like, they will go off and write a song and come back an hour later with a song and it's independently owned. Like an hour later.
Right. And you won for Alex Newell.
Yeah.
And I guess talk to me about casting Shucked and then subsequently casting the tour, because how do you recast Alex Newell?
Yeah, you don't. You recast the part. You just recast. Well, it's interesting. First of all, the cast we had on Broadway was, I would say, it was like watching the Carol Burnett show. I mean, it was just this spectacular gelling. Everybody in that cast was fantastic. Their comedy was great. They all were in the same show. They all knew what they were doing. And so when you cast the tour, you don't try to replace what Gray Henson did or Kevin Cahoon did or what John Bellman did. You bring people in who say, okay, what do you have to bring to this? And you cast it differently. The tour feels different than the Broadway show did because it's completely different. Tyler Ellis, who is hysterical, so different than Gray Henson.
He's so funny.
You just let the actors, you just don't try to copy the tracks that the actors of Broadway do. You let these actors bring in what they bring into it. And I rewrote a lot of stuff, not a lot, but quite a bit for the tour.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I rewrote stuff for London.
Really?
Yeah, because some jokes didn't translate culturally, and I also would come up with new ideas.
Yeah, that's super exciting because it's a testament to the fact that theater is a thing that never actually is frozen.
You're frozen, but you're never frozen. You always sort of have an opportunity to change it.
Yeah.
There's a couple of jokes. I mean, I have jokes. There's jokes in Shucked that I didn't get to change that I just cringe. I'm like, oh.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I'm like, what? Why was I thinking? That's not funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
But the audience thinks it is. Oh, really?
Sometimes.
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting.
I have an interesting question about Sondheim talks about how one of the hardest things to do in theater or to write in theater is a scene into a song.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's been any sort of struggle. You do a lot of shows also that I noticed pretty much all we talked about could be someone's first Broadway show. Like they're great getting you into it that, some of the people in the audience aren't really used to that. They're seeing a scene and then going, oh, we're just going into a song. How do you not make it feel like a surprise or unnatural?
Yeah. You build a scene to a point, like I said, where musical theater is a suspension of belief anyway. Because I do, but most people don't walk around just singing every day, their feelings. I do, but the way you do it is. Did you hear the vibrato? I have a vibrato.
Wow.
It's a lot of work. Often, what happens a lot is a composer will say to me, "Write the scene," and then I'll know where to write the song. So often I'll write a scene that they'll turn into a song. There may be a line that they use. There may be nothing, but I'll often write the song as a scene, and then so they know where to go with it. And sometimes they'll come up with an idea for a song, and I'll be like, I have to rewrite that entire scene. That song is great, but the scene doesn't earn that song. It's all about you get to a point where you earn that song.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense. You want to hold there, or you?
No, we're still good.
Oh, okay, great. We'll wind up cutting that anyway. Okay, so now let's talk about Hercules. We saw Hercules at Paper Mill. Were you attached to the public when they were doing it at the public?
Sort of,
right. And so yeah, how did that come across your table? You said you had a relationship with Tom Schumacher already.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It came across my table.
Okay, great.
Post Central Park, it got rave reviews in Central Park,
Yeah.
so they knew they wanted to bring it to keep giving it life, and asked me to come in and work on it, and that's sort of what happened.
When I saw it at Paper Mill, I was like, I didn't even know you were on it somehow. But
I worked on it, and then COVID happened, and everything was put on hold, and then the Black Lives Matter movement happened during COVID when I was writing, and Hercules, this particular production is the leads are all black, and it's about this culturally, it's about the mentorship of an older black man to a younger black man and what that means. And I couldn't bring anything to that. I didn't know anything about that. And I realized I needed to bring in a dramaturg, somebody to help me, because I didn't want it to feel and George Floyd had just happened, and there was a scene in Hercules at the time, it's not in anymore, where the police throw Hercules to the ground, and it was all a landmine. And I was like, I can't do this. So the director at the time, Lear de Bessonet, who was phenomenal, said, I know a guy, Kwame Kwaioma, why don't you talk to him? And I did, and I talked to him, and I said, you're writing this with me, because he's so smart and so funny and so wonderful. I said, we're doing this together. Yeah. And we did it together. Paper Mill was the two of us.
Wow, that's exciting. That's very cool. I thought the Paper Mill production was great.
Thank you.
And
you're the one.
No, but I did. I thought it was great. I thought your jokes were. I knew right. I was like, I remember at intermission turning to Angel and going, these jokes. This is such a funny show, especially Pain and Panic.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so funny. It feels like Robert Horner. It reminds me of Tootsie. And then I went in the Playboy. You were there. Yeah. And then I go to use the bathroom in intermission, and there you are. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh wait, because we saw it in previews.
I was hiding in the bathroom, basically.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So I guess now the show has moved on to London. Now Casey Nicholaw is involved in it. He's directing and choreographing. Is that right?
Correct.
What have you noticed that's different in London versus here?
Well, it's Casey. It's a completely different show with Casey. It's much more of a spectacle in London than it was in both in Germany and in Paper Mill. And again, by doing a new production, you're given the luxury of building the characters and building the story, and trying to go deeper with it, and again figure out, why are we telling this now? What is this about?
Yeah, and why are you telling this now?
The check was huge. It really wasn't, actually, because the show is very much about heroism and what that means, and the choices we make in life, and what is a hero? What does that mean to be a hero? The first responders at 9/11 were heroes. Teachers are heroes. What does that mean to want to be a hero? And what does it mean? And where do you fit in this world? We're living in a time of such oppression in so many ways. And this is a kid who has this ability that he's different than everybody else, and he's ostracized for it. And he's got to figure out what his place in this world is. Why is he here? And I just felt that we felt that was a very important message to get across right now.
Yeah, for sure. What was I want to talk about Alan Menken. How have you guys used, especially because this is different than a Tootsie, say, right? This is it is Disney, and you are basing a lot of it off the movie. What are you nabbing from the movie, and what are you looking to develop a lot on it?
Well, obviously, the score, Alan Menken and David Zippel score.
Yeah,
you're keeping the score. They wrote like 3 or 4 new songs, but you're basically keeping that score, and you're sort of staying true to the story, because Disney's mythology of Hercules is very different than the actual mythology of Hercules.
Right.
But so more than a lot of everything I've ever written, there was more of a template that you had to stay true to.
Oh, interesting.
But you go in and you try to find its own personality, and again, how are they funny, and where are they funny, and what are these relationships?
Yeah, I think that the songs, Alan's new songs there's the one, I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's the one between him and Meg, that the like love duet between the two of them. I can't remember what it's called right now.
Oh, do they have a love duet?
Or it's like I think it's a love duet.
But I think that's in the movie. Forget About It. No, is it Forget About It? Or
yes, I think so. Yes. Yeah. I loved that song.
And then they have the one in Act 2, which is her saying, yeah. Look it up.
What about so now Hercules went to the public at the Delacorte. Hercules went to Paper Mill. It's in London now.
It went to Germany. That's
right. It's in Hamburg.
Germany,
yeah. Is it still running?
Still running.
Oh wow. So Hamburg and London simultaneously.
Limping. No, it's running. It's running. It was a joke.
But well, actually, that's a good question in and of itself. How are you adjusting, especially the comedy?
Well, Germany is so different because there were translators, and so I actually don't know what they were saying. They might have been doing Beauty and the Beast for all I know. I have no clue. You just sort of give it over, and the translator translates.
And you hope.
And you hope.
And if you're getting the laughs, it's working.
They laughed. I didn't know what they were laughing. I heard the word Jello and John Travolta, so I don't know what.
Yeah, hey, whatever works, I guess. Yeah. Is there a plan to bring it back to the States?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
I think Disney doesn't make those decisions until they make their decisions.
Yeah.
So we're hoping, but I don't know.
Do you feel more confident in the London production? Are you like happy with where it is?
I'm never happy with where something is. There's so many things I would want to change. You just run out of time. And also, again, you talk about teching a show. It's so technically complicated, this production.
Yeah.
And the choreography is so incredible that you don't have the time that you usually have to make changes to the book, because there's so much time spent teching the show and learning the choreography, and so I would love to have another stab at it.
Yeah, right. Hey, well, hopefully you'll get one. Do you want to hold there? So what were you guys talking about while I was gone?
Whether you were going to do number 1 or number 2.
Oh, it was just number 1. I was quick. I had actually did though, while he's still laughing, while I was in the bathroom, I did come up with this question though. Yeah. Get ready for this.
Can I say then it's a shitty question?
Yeah.
I don't think I can say that.
Yeah, that's the preamble. That's the preamble. No, so I was gonna ask, is there anyone that you want to write for?
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So many people. Annalie Ashford. I want to write for her.
Yeah.
I love Annalie Ashford. Her comedy is spectacular. So in the production that we did of this in Salt Lake City, Taylor Trench was in it, and he's brilliant. I want to write something else
of this new play that you're writing, or no?
No. The production we did of Shucked. Taylor Trench was in the original production,
oh, really?
And then left to go do Camelot. But
wow.
I want to write something for him. There's so many actors I want to write for.
Yeah. Who are your comedy heroes right now? Who do you look at in comedy right now that you're
I love Matt Rife.
Oh, sure.
I love Matt Rife.
Yeah.
He's irreverent and so quick, and I'm like, I watch his videos. I'm obsessed with him.
Yeah.
I like Leanne Morgan. She's good.
She's got a sitcom.
She's got a sitcom now. I mean,
Yeah.
I watch a lot of, it comes across my feed.
Yeah.
So
You know who I think would be, I'm putting it together right now. I'm putting it in the ether, and then you do what you will with it. You have anything with Marty Short.
Oh, Martin Short's a legend.
I think you and Martin Short would be a perfect team up.
Yeah.
I think in terms of, and then you know what? Get Shaman and Whitman to write the score. There you go.
It's a hit. It's a hit. We have it.
Finished. Have you ever listened to his one-man show, Fame Becomes Me?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh my gosh, I think it's so funny. I think that show's so funny.
He's an icon.
Yeah, he is. So let's talk about what's next for you. You mentioned that you have a reading for a new play in a couple of weeks.
Yes, I have a reading for a new play in a couple of weeks. Honestly, I have 4 new musicals that are in different stages of coming, and I can't talk about any of them.
Any single one of them?
No, because they don't want you to talk about them until they announce.
Right, of course.
One is based on a huge movie franchise.
Ooh.
One is an original musical that I'm writing with someone who's very famous and is brilliant, but I can't say who.
Oh.
Another one is a movie. Shane Brandon and I are working on a new musical
great.
based on a like an indie film that has a cult following, but a lot of people don't know it.
Wow.
And so we're doing that. I'm not allowed to say.
I'll take that though. I'll take that for sure. I was worried that Shane and Brandy, I didn't know. It's one of those things where it's like, how do people who aren't from the musical theater world react to having a musical on? Do they love it or do they hate it?
They love it. They love it.
Good.
And the thing about it is they have very busy other careers.
Of course.
Brandy's on tour right now with Mary Chapin Carpenter. She's doing a new album. Shane is running a label and also performs. He has a one-man show that he's now taking all over the country.
Oh,
so
nice.
they're busy, but we love each other and we love writing together. So I went after this property and got it, and they're like, we're writing this with you.
Oh, awesome. Love that. Much to look forward to.
It'll be great. It's very different than Shucked.
Oh, okay. Exciting. Interesting. You're writing a drama now.
Yeah. No. It's about asparagus.
Oh. Okay.
I actually had a cat named Asparagus once.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh. I would ask.
Oh, really?
Well, because
cat hated me for it.
Well, I said because I'm like, because you said you had the cat, you don't have it.
Cat's dead.
Oh. So it's the silence. Oh, R.I.P. Asparagus. So I was gonna ask you if you had any advice for your younger self, what you would say.
My younger self?
Yeah.
Oh,
younger than 28.
lose weight now. No. I've been asked that question before.
Yeah.
I killed them.
Oh, well, you know what? Then
I killed them.
They'll just refer.
No. The interesting thing is, I don't think I would tell myself anything because I got where I got by learning the lessons that I learned.
Yeah.
I think everything leads to something else. There are really tough times. There are really great times. But unless you experience those, ultimately, destiny will take you where it's going to take you. You got to do the footwork, but it's going to happen the way it happens. And everybody's career is different.
Yeah.
Not everybody lands on Broadway. Not everybody. There's theater all over the country, all over the world. That's just as important as everybody's journey is different. And I felt like if I tried to change anything, I might not end up where I am now.
Right.
It's learning the lessons I learned that got me here. Mm-hmm. But I would probably you have to have a really thick skin, and I'm also tan, so that's part of it.
I was gonna say that makes it thicker,
even thicker. You have to have it's a really tough business. It's incredibly competitive. Most of the time, you're dealing with rejection.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's rejection. It doesn't care. Anybody who's sitting in this chair, no matter how famous they are, they will tell you most of the time you're dealing with rejection, and you have to learn that not to take it personally. I mean, man, I go on the internet. People say some horrible things about me. Sure. You just gotta that's the world we live in, and you have to not let it affect your voice and what you want to say and your individuality. And I think, if anything, I would say, just learn that at an early age. It was really hard for me at first, but you figure it out. You figure, you're like, screw it.
Yeah,
They didn't get it. That's all.
Yeah. Well, listen, some people don't wind up on Broadway, but I got a pretty good shot, right?
You have a great shot.
Good.
I mean,
I'll take it.
I'll going to cast you in something.
Oh, okay, good. So I wanted to make sure you said that so that we have it on writing. We'll use it as the advertisement for the episode. Yeah, you'll never be able to live it down.
Yeah, I'm working on an opera.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good. What is it about? No, but so, okay. I want to ask you about what you're most excited about on Broadway. State of the industry question. What are the things that you've seen recently or are looking forward to? Things like that.
I don't know what's coming in. I hear that it was a vampire movie, Lost Boys. I hear it's spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really know.
I've seen some of the choreography in it.
I hear it's so fantastic. Cool. I don't know what's Arden. Coming in. Yeah, I love Michael. Michael and I have been looking to do something together for years. We just haven't found it.
Queen of Versailles, he's doing.
Yeah, Queen of Versailles.
Fall.
But I don't know what else is coming in. I'm so immersed in my own work that I don't always know what's. I know there's a lot of stuff coming in. I know they're bringing Cats, the Jellicle Ball, to Broadway.
Yes, that's right.
I loved that. I
didn't see it last year.
There's some great stuff I saw this season. I really loved Whenever's the Social Club.
Yeah.
I loved Maybe Happy Ending.
Right, of course.
Death Becomes Her.
Yeah.
It was a great season.
It was a great season.
Yeah.
It was an excellent season for theater. We ask this question every time, and it is manifesting a dream guest. We always manifest. You're a dream guest in and of itself, honestly. But we want you to manifest someone to be sitting in this chair. It could be we've gotten the likes of Carol Burnett to Jonathan Groff.
Sitting in this chair?
Yeah. Manifest a dream guest for me to have on the podcast.
That's alive?
Yeah.
Oh,
hopefully.
I wish I would have known you'd ask that question. I would have thought of something. Who would be a great guest? Well, Jason Robert Brown would be very interesting. A little intimidating, but interesting.
Yeah, right.
You know who's fascinating is Amanda Green, who is the head of the Dramatists Guild, and her parents her father was Adolph Green, and she's a great person to talk to.
I don't think I realized that.
Annalee Ashford, anything with Annalee Ashford. God,
we'll take it. Those three are great.
Yeah.
Those three are great. I love it. We'll take it. And we end this podcast with the same question every time.
I thought that was the question.
Which is, no, that wasn't the last one.
Yeah.
Our last one is who we asked. We started the podcast. Okay, let me take a breath. We started the podcast.
Do I make you nervous?
Yeah, you made me a little nervous, Robert.
Okay.
But we started the podcast with the same question. Who is your I want to be like you when you were a kid?
Oh.
And we want to ask you, who is your I want to be like you now?
I mean, you know what? I'm constantly saying, I wish I could write like that. I wish I could do that. There's so many people that I say that about.
Right.
Who do I wish I could be now? That's a good question.
Yeah.
Honestly, there are. Okay, I'll tell you who. Cola Scola.
Cola Scola.
I think Cole is genius.
Yeah.
Genius. I went and saw O'Mary and I said, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that and perform in it the way he does.
Right.
They do.
Right.
Cole's my obsession right now.
Yeah.
And do you know Jeffrey Self? Jeffrey Self used to work with Cola Scola. They were partners. They would do comedy together. He's also a brilliant writer, wonderful writer. But I think it would be Cole.
Yeah, I love
think
that.
He's the new generation.
I love that. We'll take it. Thank you so much for doing this.
My
I
pleasure.
want to be like Robert Horn.
Yeah, you don't want to be like me. I have arthritis.
I Want to Be Like You with Elbi Cespedes is produced by Elbi and Christian Cespedes. Special thanks to Angelina Cespedes, Vincenzo Salvatore Cakes, and of course, Robert Horn.